I know a year ago, for instance, there was a lot of noise around you remarking that they had become polarizing and don't shoot the messenger. And I wonder what the status of that is now. Did that change the conversation about them? What's your perspective on the merger of the branding of the politics and the activism in the sports?
Yeah, I don't know if it's changed, but also that came about at the same time when this U.S. women's national team, who has been so successful for so long, failed. So in the context of a failure on the field, because the message and the platform and the power of that message is tied to the success of that team. And so, last summer in the World Cup, when I said don't kill the messenger, it was, I wasn't saying anything that anybody doesn't know. If and when you are doing these things, which, by the way, someone like Megan Rapinoe, I love Megan Rapinoe in that I love that she is fearless and that she has the courage of her conviction. And I love that she doesn't care what others say. I vehemently disagree with many of the things that she has said and many of the things that she has done. And in that moment, I was explaining, not that it needed to, but it needed to be said. I do think it needed to be said that if and when you do these things, as I have certainly experienced and recognize, is a portion, in this case, a big portion of people that aren't going to be on your side. And as a matter of fact, might even go to the other side and want you to fail, which we saw plenty of going forward. And this team that had been championed and put on a pedestal and valued and celebrated for so long had, divided the fan base out there. I thought it was an incredible look into this day and age and into the minds of folks out there. And that's all that I was saying. But as we go forward, I do think that this national team will have learned some of the lessons. And it's not that they're not going to be involved and then they're not going to stand up for things that they believe in, either collectively or individually going forward. And that's, by the way, that's fine. But I think that there is a real recognition of the edges of the sword there and the things that can happen and the consequences of the things that you do and you say. And if you just feel it's okay to, for those consequences to come, fine. But don't act surprised when they do come. And in this case, that summer, combined with them losing, it was the perfect bad storm, if you will. But it also gives them an opportunity to return to the mount under a new coach and with a whole bunch of new players that we'll have seen. And again, maybe this pendulum swings and this new generation says, you know what? I don't want to deal with any of that other stuff. I just want to be the best damn soccer player I can be. I want to be the champion of the world. And I want to stick it in the face of everybody else that came before and be the best that there ever was.
Yeah, it was a really interesting cultural moment back then a year ago. And I remember some of the backlash that you got. Somebody was saying that when you were talking about how she and them had been unlikable to portions of the population, somebody in media said, well, he's talking about himself and people like himself. And I thought to myself, well, let's just, okay, we'll accept that premise. That represents tens of millions of people still. Even if he's talking about himself or somebody who might vote Republican, that's a massive portion of the country. And there was this kind of aghast response from some media members whom I like, and I think they're smart people, that anybody might root against this team or delight in their failure, and how the supposed patriots of this country were the ones doing it. And perhaps that does represent some hypocrisy, but I also looked at those media members and thought, you'd be doing the same thing if a team represented the antithesis of your values so loudly.
Sure.
You would not root for them. People are less inclined to root if you see a team as representing your domestic political enemy. That's just reality. And if you're relatively, I don't know, just saying not much, and I'm not saying that you have to do it. It's just these are the consequences in life. I'm not saying shut up and dribble, but I'm also saying that there is a consequence in terms of popularity and people not liking you to not shutting up. And it just comes with the territory. And either you're a rebel or you're not. You know, there's this weird need from some of the media to be on the vanguard and the mainstream all at once. And I'm not sure it can really work that way.
You know, we just lost Bill Walton, and it was interesting to hear all of the the praise and the kudos and the stories that were told. And this he was a really interesting, maverick, eccentric type of person. But let's be honest, this is a function of technology. This is a function of the day in which we live in, right? Because I believe all of the same, diverse thoughts and opinions when it comes to politics and society and government and business and all that kind of stuff existed in every single locker room and every single team out there. All right. So this myth of a homogenous type of team, especially, by the way, when you're talking about an American team, okay, which one of the great strengths, I believe, in our country is our diversity, but it also means you're putting together, in this case, soccer, 11 players on the field from all of these different and diverse and disparate types of experiences and backgrounds and having them function together. That means that we're not all going to agree. But in this day and age where the disagreement and the differences are amplified because we have amplification devices out there. And whether it's through interviews or whether it's through social media or just the national course of events that everything is documented, we find out about them. But I don't think that much has changed, other than the reality is that we know so much more about these individuals that are out there performing.